What's up, everybody? It's Danny with POP.1 here today. We're going to talk about the top 32 breakdown for YCS Niagra, our thoughts on the ban list, our thoughts on the metagame, and what we're going to be looking at going forward. So tonight, I'm joined by myself, obviously, Cutie Patootie, and Devin over here, less Cutie Patootie. So yeah, let's get right into it. All right, so we have the top 32 breakdown right here. We're just going to read it off for you guys, and then we're going to give our thoughts on it. So we had 15 sprites, 7 pure sprite, 3 adventure, 2 live twin, 3 runics, 12 tier elements, 3 dangers, 2 pure, 3 punk sprites, 1 sprite tier frog, 1 runic frog tier, 2 exo sisters, which went on to win the event, 2 Floandries, and 1 Math Mech. The Math Mech sneaking its way in there is kind of cool. The 2 Floandries and the 2 Exo Sisters definitely did not expect. What are your thoughts about it, Devin?
I feel obviously a lot of sprite and tier. I mean, most represented decks, of course.
Yeah.
The biggest shock is how many made to top 8 sprites after.
Yeah, sprites seem to get cut down pretty heavily with none of them making it into the top 4. It was kind of crazy to see. It was Exo Sister, tier element, and you guessed it, tier element.
I mean, I play sprites, so I know it's definitely a tough matchup.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it consistency issue? Is tier just pushing through? People have adapted. Is it the tech choices they've used? To be able to just counter them completely. Yeah. Because I see them on the spell canceler now.
Yeah, the spell canceler just shuts things like that down. I'm on runic sprites moving forward, just as a little preliminary, and spell canceler just auto beats me almost. I can't use anything to get there. I have to have my sprites in hand to start doing anything, and sometimes it's just not enough, especially if they already have a board.
And if you normal summon, it kills your starter line.
Yep.
It kills Dark Roller, kills if you're on the spell version, if you're on the econs, the talents. It is rough. I mean, it puts you on having Imperm or Lava Golem, Nib if you get the Nib off on their turns. But if you don't have those, I could see why they could take it, because they'll mill an average of 8 to 12, 15 cards on their turn. I mean, they're going to hit one. They're going to hit one spell.
It's definitely rough, and I think the thing that people don't think about with tier elements is the power of their plays. Sprites is very linear, and it has a pretty low ceiling. Well, I wouldn't say a low ceiling, but it has about a mid ceiling. It's pretty easy to reach that ceiling with sprites. The tier elements, it's not so easy to reach that ceiling. So the better of a player you are, the better that deck just pushes through what sprite has. Because all you need to get through is 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Smashers, and maybe a red, and then your tier element deck is free to go, and then you just crush us.
And they have so much gas. I mean, they summon, dump something, you got to stop it. They field spell, all right, you possibly don't have to stop it, but then you got to stop the sharing.
Yeah.
Then you got to stop, you just got to keep stopping the push. And
it's just not enough. You just don't have enough stuff in sprites. Usually. No. You can outplay them. Knowing the key places to stop a tier element deck is probably the best thing about it, which leads us into why we think Exo Sisters did so well. I think it was a wonderful meta call by the 2 people who played it, including the winner who went on to win the event. I know in the finals, D-Shifter helped him out a lot. We've been seeing a lot of talk on Zodiac and especially on the Reddit forums about how D-Shifter is just D-Shifter deck. And I don't necessarily think that's true. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a lot more Floandries players, which we do see 2 in the top 32. But we'd be seeing a lot more of them making it through.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cards where, it can shut down your opponent completely and turn them off, stuff like that, but your deck still has to do something. Or, we're going to see the roguest of rogue.
And you have to be very good at piloting that deck and knowing when to stop them. You can't just take Exo Sisters, banish random cards, and expect to get this kind of results.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to go through knowing the key parts, knowing where to stop Kaleido, knowing where to start Kalios, knowing what to banish, knowing to save to get rid of the snow. There's so much you have to think about other than just D-Shifter.
And let's think of it as matches. I mean, what was it, 15, 16 rounds? How many did he open D-Shifter? I mean, it can't be all of them.
Yeah, you can't just top off that. And if he opened D-Shifter every one, then I guess he should buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
But he also these 2 players probably had to dodge a lot of sprites, because Exo Sisters, while being decent into sprites, it does not auto-win like it close to does with tiers.
Yeah, it's an auto-win against tier, but definitely not against sprite. But I think the reason we saw that top 8 breakdown and that top 4 is like you said about the ceiling, because sprite, I mean, you can be the best player ever. You're still gonna make elf.
Yeah, you're still gonna end on toad. You're still gonna end on smash.
Yeah, no matter how good you are, that's your end board. So I definitely understand why the tier. There's so many variations you can do, so many like lines you can do, the boards you can make. It's not just, hey, I do this, every time. Cookie cutter, and that's why I think you're seeing more tiers. And then they're only gonna get better from here. I think Spite's starting to phase out. I know we're getting the support that's coming out. We get the one link in the trap, but that's not enough. A crackdown and the spring-ins or whatnot, I don't think it's enough for Sprite, so I think it's going to be a little short-lived. I think we're headed towards tier 0, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to there. Even though we have such a high variance of sprites, a lot of them are running tiers too, which is just like when you take the 2 best decks and combine them into one, obviously there's not even that big of an issue between doing that. And it is a fairly small sprite package. A lot of them are just running jets and elves to try and get the smashers just to have some more interruption. But I do agree that we're going to see tiers climb a little harder. The issue with sprites is it's very good into mediocre to bad players, where because they might not know how to get through sprite boards, which I think is always going to keep sprite dominant. And we'll talk about the ban list later and if that could affect sprites. Lastly, we'll talk about, just for the top 32 breakdown, we'll talk about the 2 Flow and Reese players, and we'll talk about the 1 Mathmech player. So we'll start first with the Flunders. Obviously, another deck that can main D-Shifter, so that probably helps it. We're probably getting through there. It also runs win barrier statue, so they win a lot of dice rolls. They're stopping sprites. They're stopping tiers. It's just not doing enough.
Oh, I'm afraid of, I mean, they normal summon barrier statue. It's a hard time because I'm normal summoning red or something.
And if they go up against tiers, even if they go second, and if they open up D-Shifter, it might as well be first plus a card because tiers not doing anything. Now, the Mathmech player, I have not personally played into Mathmechs, but once, I have no idea what that deck did. Tyler stomped me with it, so I don't even know what happened.
We actually had Michael at YCS Niagra, and he day 2'd
with Mathmech, which I don't know what that does, so good job. Because I have no idea.
Basically what I've seen for the most part, I mean, there's a couple different lines you can do. Some play the Synchro version. With Final Sigma. Some play the add a rival kind of thing, make the 6K towers, whatnot. And then you've got the Link Disciple and that Link line Cyburst Wicked. So what they'll do is they'll Cyburst Wicked IP, and then they'll make Appaloosa. And then they flip the trap, which is Tri-Brigade Revolt, basically. They get the 1 negate because of diameter when it's used for Xyz or Synchro, and then they're going to hit 1 card on the field, 1 card in your hand. And for most decks, that's enough. You've already got double Appaloosa, 2 you've hit with a negate. That's it. I mean, and if they've got anything else, it's just icing on the cake.
Do they side a Pointer of the Red Lotus as well to rip 2 cards?
I don't believe so, no. I know Tyler's on it. He's another one of our POP.1 players. He is on a Pointer because I've just got him on a Pointer. I think
a Pointer is that good.
I think it is that good.
Yeah.
But he plays it. For the rest, I don't believe so. They don't go for that 2. It's just nice. But usually just that 2-card interaction, just hitting 1 on field, 1 in hand, and stuff like that, is enough. Because if you start or summon something, it's gone. Or negate starter, you normal summon, they hit that in your hand. What are you doing? We have no more gas. So there is no more.
And it's a Wombo
combo
deck, right?
Runic, but you have no more gas.
And it's a big combo deck too, right? Which I think is why Michael likes it. Is he usually plays Wombo.
It's Wombo combo, but it's linear Wombo. I mean, there's different lines you can take. But it's kind of the same. Send the Sigma, whatever. Send that. Special to the field. If you got something else in hand, special it. Make an XE, search a card. It's very... But you could go the Link route. You could go the Synchro route. You could go the Unaffected route. You could go the... You know what I mean? And it depends. It's not always best to just go Appaloosa. It's not always best to go a Towers when they're on Underworld Goddesses. So there's a lot of factors. And that's why Michael likes it, because he likes the big brain.
So it can just, factor into what your opponent's doing. Okay, I like...
You could go Heat Leo.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of lines where they'll go first, they'll go Heat Leo, set 1 pass, they get a draw, then on your turn they get a draw, and most of them run 15, 18 hand traps, so fight through that. Even though it's just Heat Leo, fight through that.
That's cool. I'm more of a control player myself, obviously. I don't like letting my opponent be able to do much, so that's interesting. Next thing we're going to talk about is our thoughts on the ban list. So we're going to take a look at the OCG ban list first, see if that could have any impact to us, which I don't think it will currently. So yeah. All right, so talking about the OCG ban list and what we think can affect us, we have some ban cards, and we're just going to talk about stuff that's relevant to the TCG currently. We're not going to go through this whole list. This isn't a OCG ban list breakdown. So the first thing is Wandering Griffin Rider, making the adventure engine that adventure engine is just not good. I don't think this is going to carry over to the TCG. It's just too soon. Also, a lot of people aren't really playing the Brave engine right now. It's kind of expected, so it's not too crazy.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times in Sprite. I saw it at regionals, and then there was a 60 card Punk Eldritch, like that kind of thing, running it as well. And it's a very, very strong engine, but 9 cards of your deck to get 1 Omni and a bounce. Like, it was cool with Sprite, because Swap can bounce the Draco back after you get the discard and add it back and things like that. It's still a great engine, but as far as the TCG, I know support's coming out. They're getting 2 or 3 of the cards. They're getting a good continuous spell. But I don't think it's meta-defining for 1 negate. Yeah. Especially a 10-card engine to pull it off. And I don't think it's worth it. Yeah,
and like we said, I don't think it's going to come over to here. So the limiteds that do have an effect on the TCG, we have Swap Frog going to 1. We have the Tearlament Field Spell going to 1. We have Sprite Starter going to 1. Swap Frog obviously going to 1. A lot of people want to see in the TCG. I think that's something that could happen with this upcoming ban list.
You think Starter? I mean, well, after the YCS results, looking at Tier.
It's too soon. It's too soon for Tiers.
Well, it's
and
too
I
soon
definitely don't think it's the field spell.
I mean, Starters, well, definitely not. Like, I watched 3v3 did yesterday. A guy had no field spells and still getting to the finals round.
The field spell is not the problem.
It's nice to chain block and, like, cool, you get a search. But
yeah. And if they gave us this exact list where they did 1 starter and then
but they can't hit Starter. We came out in the same set. You can't hit us either.
I mean, they could. I don't think they are. I think Swap Frog is what's going to 1.
I could see the swap because they don't need sales. They've already printed the ultis. They've already printed the, Yep. You don't need any sales. And that would definitely hit it now that they see everybody, like, got off the Diva. We thought Diva was going to get hit. We thought Hulk was the problem. No, it's kind of Swap Frog. Abusing the Toad. You already put Toad to 1, so...
And I don't even think that Totally Awesome is the problem with that deck, so I don't know that Swap Frog is the one that should get hit. I'm a little biased. I like Sprites.
I mean, they could have ratted it. We could even go real wild and say hard once per turn.
They could have ratted it.
Then it's dead. Dead. But they could have ratted it.
I don't know that it's dead.
I mean, what? You normal summon dump and then...
I think it's worse, but
it's then I guess you bring out a swap and then, you could make it, but it's rough.
So Sprite Jet, not something that I think is going to get hit.
No.
So they're semi-limited.
I've cited it out a lot, too.
Yeah.
One of...
They have Water Enchantress. I can see that going to 2 easily. I can see that, and then Fateful Adventure. Is it Fateful Adventure the one that they search, or is that the rights?
They search right.
Is that the one of?
No, Fateful's the one of rights the 3
okay.
of.
I could see right and Sorceress or Enchantress going to 2 each or 1 each. That way, it trims down the consistency of that. I think that would happen before Wandering Griffin Rider goes to 0.
Yeah, well, they can't hit I mean, with the support coming out, you can't. Unless it's just going to be an illegal night deck. That's all you've got.
Yeah.
But I could see them, but honestly, it hasn't been performing that. I don't think it's an issue. Because even if, they get their support and they don't hit it, I'm not going to see a bunch of Brave randomly come up. Especially not against Tier and Sprite and stuff. I'm not going to see
it. You're probably not. They do have D-Shifter going to 2. That's stupid. I don't know why D-Shifter would go to 2. I think D-Shifter is
that just hurts the counter for
a none or a 3 card. You can't go to 1 because then people are going to feel sacked by it.
Yep.
And 2 is just kind of dumb. So I don't think that's transferring over. That's just what the OCG has. They
Herald
also
of Orange Light. Never mind. I forgot about a
Herald of Orange Light's not coming out because it's not going to get hit because they're coming out with that new stuff. It's going to take a bit. Lightning Storm going to 2. I don't think that's relevant to us. Lightning Storm's not that big of a problem. It is annoying when it happens to you, especially if you're playing a back row deck, especially in tandem with D-Shifter.
Or Tier's got no negates, but now they have Spell Cancer, so...
Yeah.
Because it would have been a good call. I mean, yes, the Destroy, and I know I didn't want to run anything that destroys Tier cards, but then I usually look at their inboards, and it's like Winda, not that I can destroy it, but, Winda's their inboard, Redoer, Mud Dragon of the Swamp, Predaplant, like all things that are just kind of free to,
Yeah. Tier limits, so I'll talk about this after, or I'll save that topic for just a second. Just talking more about the TCG ban list and what we expect. The obvious one we all expect
We
is
want
Mystic
mine.
Mine. I actually think the card's going to go to 1. I don't think they're going to outright ban it.
I don't know, because I don't think it's... Well, one, you have the sackiness. And then the second thing is, like, you can still meta-focus it. I mean, you've got Metaverse, you've got 3 Demise of the Land, you've got 3 Planet Pathfinders, you've got Terraforming.
You're talking about if it goes to 1?
Yeah, you've still got 11 ways to search it. And
But let's say that you put those 11 cards in and you put 1 Mystic Mine in. And you draw Mystic Mine in your opening hand. And then you're going second.
But once
and you draw a searcher.
But once I played, it's done.
Yeah, but if you play an out and they out the 1 of, then you have 11 dead cards in your deck.
True, but we're getting to such a moment where we're playing the Beat Cop. We're playing, Field Barrier. You're playing Runics, things that protect it. I mean, granted, I don't think it'd be great, but we're still going to get sacked by it. I don't think it'll probably win any big events if that happens.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where people can just hyper-focus it as well, though, and it's...
it's
rough.
I think Mystic Mine going to 1 would be funny. I don't want it to happen. I want Mystic Mine to go to 0, and I want a regionals playing a 60-card deck that turboed that fucking card out. I want it gone. But I think going to 1 would make it interesting because you can't run searchers for it. I mean, other than like a...
Demise of the Land, for sure.
Well, Demise of the Land, but not... What's the
Metaverse?
one? No.
Planet Pathfinder?
No, the spell that searches.
Terraform?
Yes, you can run that. I think what would be cool right now in this meta is if you could run like 2 Necro Valley, 1 Mystic Mine, 1 Terraforming. Again, I think Mystic Mine's going to go to 1.
3 Demise of the Land, flip it against them. I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah, and we'll get into that talking about the meta going forward. Other than Mystic Mine, which we all know and want gone, are there any cards that you want to see? Just personal preference cards that are just kind of annoy you?
I think Scythe is just degenerate.
Yeah.
Not that I've lost to it in a very long time. It's just the fact of what it does. And now you've got people on the Sanctums like Splight citing 3 Sanctums and just flipping. I just think it's a degenerate, hey, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh card that isn't healthy. Like, Hawk is annoying. It's only because it summons the Scythe. Like, you Desert Locust rip a card out of the hand, make Barone, Scythe lock you. Like, come on.
You're just not having a good time at that point.
I think it's just the fact that it's so easily summonable, searchable, etc. Dump it to the grave, Barone loop it. That's just not healthy. Not that it's happened in a long time, but I don't think it's healthy.
Agreed. That card is just... It's not fun, right? It's an anti-fun card. And I don't think Konami should always be in the business of making Yu-Gi-Oh! Feel fun. I mean, obviously you want it to. But that's a card that just, like, when that card gets used against you, you just don't have a good time.
Yeah.
Like Mystic Mine.
It's just it's fun. Coming. And it's under 3 negates or something, and it's coming. And
yeah, and you're just like, cool, guess I'll go fuck myself. So.
That, another, they're not hitting Splitter tier. Not gonna happen. Too new. Selling product.
Yeah.
I already know that's gonna happen. I mean, they could indirectly with the swaps and stuff like that. I still don't think it's gonna happen. You're killing product. Yeah. I think it's way too soon. But I don't know what else needs to be hit. There's not too much I've seen where I'm like, this is super unfair. I think we still have like a very diverse meta. You've got not Eldritch in the top, but I mean, they definitely go around and sweep wins and things like that. You had the Mathmech, the Flunder, it's still diverse-ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
So the card that I want to see gone, I would rather this card gone than I would Mystic Mine. Super Polymerization. That card is a cancer to this game. I hate that card. You can't respond to it.
Yeah.
That card would be perfectly fine if I could respond.
You could even like droplet where like, hey, if you discarded a spell, you can't respond to spells. My God. That would be even like fair-ish.
I would take anything. But they flip it against you and you go...
There's not a single thing you can do in the game. And now it's at 3. And tiers trigger off of it. Which makes it even more broken.
There's been so many fusions. We've had the last 2 formats.
Branded?
No. 3 Super Polys. Or 3 Super Polys in the side. And you know what you cited to beat Despia? Super Poly.
Yep.
Like, and now...
Tier, you side Super Poly.
Tier Super Poly. And they're just like, oh yeah, I have a free card that gets rid of all my opponent's cards that they can't respond to. Yeah, it's just like, thanks Konami.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot about that, and you're 100% right. And, like, they don't need product, they don't need to sell anything. I definitely think that needs to
Super Poly can leave.
It can go. It can go.
I would be so happy.
Not just because I'm not on, tiers, but it It needs to go.
And I play Super Poly when I play Eldritch because it's just so good.
Oh, yeah. In the mirror when you make the big guy.
Yeah. When I have a card that you can't respond to, doesn't target, and I can just...
And clears too much, and you can clear your entire opponent's board?
Yeah, just...
Oh, Five-Headed Dragon. You're playing Dragonlance?
People thought Monarch Stormforth was bad when that card was out. When Monarch, and they were like,
it got banned.
That card needs to get hit.
It got to one.
You know what you could do? You could respond to it.
Yeah, at least you could do so. You could econ, take it, get rid of all
you
could clear your whole field. Yeah.
But when they Super Poly you just go, guess I'll die. Guess I'll lose. This feels so
and then
good.
they do in the battle phase, you're like, is it evenly or Super Poly? But I'm losing everything
one
way or the other.
Yeah. So speaking of evenly, do you think evenly should go?
No, I love that card.
Yeah, I think
I love the card, and I think it's a balance. Like, it's one of those things where, I mean, if you got the negate up, if you see it coming, I mean, it's so easy to see coming. But it also, I like the skill factor because you can bluff it. You know, there's a lot of times where you got IP Masquerade on board, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to battle? And they're like, not yet. And then you know they want to minimize their monsters. I think that definitely adds a level of skill to the game, and like it can be a blowout, but you should be expecting it.
Yep. And I also think that evenly matched provides a layer of outplaying your opponent that some cards do not, being that you have to go into the battle phase. So this has actually happened to me a few times at not only locals but at regional events, is that I won't even have evenly.
Oh, no, yeah.
And I'll say attempt to leave main phase 1.
Yep.
And they'll do everything. It's still main phase 1. It doesn't just automatically go over and you go, okay, cool. And then you do your stuff.
And it's not cheating or anything. We could have some other stuff in the battle phase. It could be super
Yeah, you're just outplaying your opponent.
Yeah.
It also does another thing that if you're going first and you fear your opponent sided 3 evenly matched, do you set, like if I'm playing Eldritch, do I set all 5? If I don't have an answer to it?
Like a judgment,
if I'm playing Sprite and I think, Dark Ruler No More and Evenly is a good combo, and it happens a lot.
And the take back, you're not dying.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most, it's usually empty board,
Yep.
So it's fair. Like, I think that's a fair card. You lose your battle, you know you're not going to die.
Yep.
You should be prepared for it. Everyone knows about it. Your opponent can play it like poker style and, outplay you where you think it's going to come.
And it's just good. It's good into every deck. And it's not something that's like Super Poly that you can't respond to. It's not something like Mystic Mind that just you can get decked out by it. They can't kill you that turn because they're sacrificing their battle phase, and you can outplay it.
What about Dark Ruler?
I think
a non-respond monster at least.
I think Dark Ruler No More is fair in the aspect that you can at least respond to it, and you can't die the turn that you get it used on you, which a lot of people don't think about. I've had so many people all Dark Ruler, and then they'll just scoop, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
Sometimes I might not be able to build that strong of a board.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you just scoop? Which is a different topic, but I think some people just scoop too early. I also think some people scoop way too late. But there's a happy medium. But anyways, I don't think there's anything else.
I don't think, I think Dark Ruler's completely fine.
Should I talk about Snow?
Oh.
Ooh, Snow going to 0.
I see the line just because when it's spell canceller, whatchamacallit, and the fact that they're getting I activate effect on field. Cool, chain Snow. It's going through. You've got you have a dodge, an 1850 damage pumper right at the end. You've got a level 4 for overlay plays. It's not once per turn, so you can keep sacking it.
It's the best Lightsworn monster that's not a Lightsworn monster because you want to mill it, you want to see it in your graveyard. You don't ever want to draw that card.
And it's 7 cards. Yeah, that sounds steep, but not when decks are doing 15 in a turn now.
Yeah.
It's not steep anymore. It's like effect on field. You're like, okay, Toad or something. See ya.
They just dodge everything. It's
and then they get the extra pump. I'll look at the life and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna live. And they're like, oh, but we got Snow. Let's take an extra 1850.
Yeah. So.
Then Super Poly. Then you summon it back out.
Yep.
Can we talk about Hulk?
We
kind of mentioned it, but
I think the Scythe is the issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm never really afraid of a Hulk. You can Desert Locust me. You can Shooting Riser, which still dumps the snow. There's the problem.
Yeah.
What else does it? I mean, they go Riser. They can go Cupid Pitch, but that line doesn't work with Auroradon anymore. There's not many things that they go into. A Formula Synchron, you get a draw. Yep. And it can make Barone, but you took 2 monsters plus a tuner to make Hulk. You just banished Hulk to make a Synchro out of your extra deck. Then you made a Barone. You did all that for 1 negate. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I think Hulk's fine, honestly. I don't think it's that crazy. Moving on from the ban list, we're going to talk about our thoughts on the meta. On the count of 3, I want everyone in this room to tell me what they think the best deck is right now. So 1, 2, 3. Tear All right. It's clearly not Madolce. Right. Yeah. 2 of us are right. 1 of us is the team owner, so he's right inherently. But Tear Limit, I think is by far and away the best deck. I've said it multiple times. People keep disagreeing with me because Sprite has about the same showing.
It has the more representation.
But it has the more representation because it's usually the more played in the room. But when you look at most...
And it's cheaper.
Yeah, when you look at most pro players, what are they playing right now? It's tier limits, excluding Pack. Pack is on a variation of Sprite. Pack is just a kind of different kind of player, though. But you look at Patrick Hoban.
Did not know. Pack played Danger Tier Element Punk.
When?
YCS.
At Niagara?
Mm-hmm. UNC switched his list?
Nope. See, that's what...
Yeah. No, so are you talking about when he was running Runic?
Yeah, so this
No. That was just a... that was a local.
I'm talking about his live 20. See, this is something that I've been telling Devin about and some other people is that, like, some people will hype this deck up on YouTube and then they'll switch it last second because they play a deck that's good into it, which Tier Element is really good into. Surprise, surprise. Live Twin Sprites. It's a very smart move on his part. It's also not... He's not showing a deck that's bad. Live Twin Sprite is amazing.
Honestly, it's one of the best versions, if not, like, from performance-wise, at least what I've seen recently, the best version. Yeah. Other than Tier, I'm not counting that mashup, but as far as, like, a purish build, you got the Dark Beckoning Beast, which is my favorite, personally, and then you've got the Diva, which is phased out, and then you've got, like, the Live Twin. The Live Twin has been performing the best so far, so he's not wrong at all. But, I mean, we could triple check, but I'm like 90% sure. Yeah, he was running the Danger Tier Elements. Jesse Cotton was on Danger Tier Elements.
Patrick
Hoban was on it. I think
all of the pro players are on it. Do you know why? It's because the skill ceiling is up to here.
And when you're a player, you see them all topping. Yep. Because they can do that.
And when a player who has a ceiling of here and knows they can play up to here, they're just going to smash everybody else. It doesn't matter what they're playing.
Even if they're playing the same deck. I mean, and then it becomes skill at that point.
And then I think... I don't think Tier is Tier 0 yet. I think it's closing in. I don't think it's been quite solved. It's close. It's very, very
with that
close.
spell canceler ad and like things like that, it's getting close. You see the Ladybug?
I've heard of it.
For time, they dump it to the grave, you gain 1,000 life, so now they've got a time answer. They've got the spell answer. I mean, that's disgusting.
It's getting good. I'm going to talk about in a little bit when I go to build my deck for the tournament we have this weekend, or my side deck at least. How I'm going to try and answer a Tier deck. So obviously Tier, and then we have Sprite coming in as a pretty close second because Sprite is very good, as we've already established. I think those are our two top contenders. I think everything else is kind of a tier down. Those are not Tier 0. I think I think Tiers is 0.5, and then I think Sprites is Tier 1.
Yeah.
I think after that you have Tier 1.5 being like Eldritch variants of things, Math Mech.
Math Mech 100%. I've been seeing a lot. They've been doing great.
Exo Sisters.
I was
gonna
say, do we add Exo Sisters? I saw at regionals. I think. So honestly, I don't know if a single one topped at regionals.
Yeah, they have.
I went to. No, the one I went to. I don't know if any of them.
So Exo Sisters has actually been doing a very good job at regionals. It's been low key. I haven't seen it around a lot. It's won a few regionals. Mm-hmm. It's top 8'd many regionals. I think that deck Tier 1.5.
Yeah. I think I could agree with
that. Especially if it's going to beat the Tier 0 deck. If it's going to beat a deck that we think is climbing to Tier 0, automatic.
Yeah.
Automatic. And just for that, no other factors because. Same with Flunders. I don't think Flunders is 1.5. I think it's probably Tier 2.
I was going to say, I don't think they were ever like that high, personally. Like, you'd see onesies and twosies, but it was a deck that was annoying, but you could win. Like, it never did anything crazy.
Yep. So, now, decks that I think are in Tier 2, and some of you think any differently. Mm-hmm. I think a Mystic Mind Runic build.
Yeah, I think it's very strong, especially when players aren't realizing this. Like, you cannot destroy cards if they're playing a pure Runic deck. Like, you need the Cosmic Cyclones, you need the Banish, you need Smashers. Because a lot of people, I mean, that was the surprise factor. Is like, I have all these Twin Twisters, these Lightning Storms. Well, you're in for a Rude Awakening because Runic doesn't care.
Yeah, it does
unless you can chain Droplet on the target and whatnot. Yeah, it's just not.
It does not give two
craps. I think Mind variants in general, if it's built well, especially like the Geometry Mind Burn, just pure Mind Burn, the old school style, things like that, I definitely would put it at Tier 2 because you could sweep a lot of rounds.
You're talking about with the burn deck?
Yeah. Or just mine and anything with the mine in it.
So, I've been wanting to discuss that burn deck with a friend of mine, Zachary from back home. He is the person, when you consider a person and you think about the deck that they are, he's a burn player. Yeah. He's always been a burn. He's not anymore because it's a little different now. Mm-hmm. but he's always been a burn player at heart. The dude is really good at was always good at getting there. So I want to talk to him about that. But I think that's definitely up there. Maybe I don't think it's necessarily tier 2 right now. Probably tier 2.5 because it has top. It's already won. Yeah. Won by a dude who was at a YCS, who's just a local player and wanted to go have some fun with his friends. Won the whole event. Won everything. That's a cool story to hear stuff like that you don't have to always be, Mr. Number 1 in the world pack or anyone like that to win these events. It's really cool to see.
I remember that years ago. It wasn't a win, but a guy went undefeated on YCS and Swiss with Volcanics.
Yep. YCS Charleston. I was there for that. I played Burning Abyss.
He just loved Volcanics.
Yep. And I remember the card guys did a big interview on him. No one gave a crap about the actual winner of YCS Charleston. They cared about him.
They were like, how did you burn people? Oh, he's like, it's a Raigeki 3 times in a row.
And people, because the trap card had come out about a month prior, nobody had given it.
Tri-Blaze Accelerator.
Yep. No one had given it any thought. And he didn't even have that good of a deck. That good of a version of a deck.
Yeah, that's Magic Planners on the continuous draw too.
Yep. Yeah. That's actually one of the decks that I took to get one of my first tops with a bad deck was Volcanics. And it's amazing. That deck is so much fun. It's not great right now.
His creativity, everything was just, that was wild.
And people dubbed him the winner of YCS Charleston. So it's really cool to see stuff like that.
11-0.
Yeah,
I believe.
Really, really cool to see stuff like that. Going on to tier 2 and stuff like that. Obviously, we have the Eldritch, like we've mentioned.
Yeah,
we have.
I think it's definitely up there, especially Ultimate Slayer, Lava Golems, Sphere Modes.
Yeah,
it's good.
We have decks like Madolches and Earth Machines that can OTK really easily and out of nowhere.
Despia just topped. So the Saturday event we went to topped, I believe, top forward with pure Despia. The tournament I did yesterday, the 3v3, my first 2 rounds, one was Invoked Despia, and my second round was pure Despia. And honestly, Game 3, my teammate got it before we got to finish, but he had Droplet, Called by, Branded Red, Branded Fusion, and Super Poly or something. What do you do?
Yeah.
I didn't have Spell Cancel or something.
It's crazy.
So yeah, that's honestly it's doing really well. Mirror Jade's a problem for a lot of decks,
but what blows my mind is when Despia was good, I preached that Despia was such a bad deck. People just didn't realize it.
I thought it was bad. I kind of agree. We watched top local players down here and stuff. They used it for one event. They got the surprise factor. No one knew what it did. Won the event, and they never touched it again because it just kind of...
People just couldn't get rid of Masquerade fast enough. Is Masquerade the one that burned you?
Yeah, but no one was summoned Masquerade. It was Mirror Jade's Raigeki that was annoying until you realized you could just end up bouncing it. They got it. And then once DD Crow, which is still in the meta, got into that meta, the deck became dead because it's you just crow this, crow that. It just kind of loses its steam, and then you sit on a Mirror Jade, and it's
So obviously those decks are in the tier 2s. What is the deck? Punk is a pretty good deck. I don't know what it does.
Punk variants.
But every time I play into it, I usually win.
Punk variants go Chaos Ruler mill a lot.
Oh, okay.
And if it's a different version, you go Hulk, Barone, Scythe Lock,
So the generic, it's just a different deck to get to negates.
That and if they've been putting the engine, they'll put the 2 Xiamen, 1 Foxy, 1 Qui-Gon Jinn, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And they'll just so that they can syncate for Chaos to mill.
Yeah.
Because you get a light or dark ad, and then you get the mills.
Yep.
That's what it's used for right now. And then it's an 8. It comes back. So if you destroy it, you get to summon it back for free. Mm-hmm. And then you can just use it to synchro or fodder or anything else like that. And then bring it back. And it's a 3k beat stick.
Yep.
So it's no downside. And you get an ad, and you get mills. That's
really cool.
And what? A 4-card engine to do mill, ad, and come back. It's worth it. 600 life points to do it.
So moving on from the tier list, let's talk really quickly about what we're going to play until the ban list comes out. I know we have a 3v3 tournament coming out.
Yep, Saturday.
So I'm going to be on Runic Sprites. I think that deck is amazing. I love Sprites. I love Runics. I think it's awesome.
Yep.
What do you think about playing?
I'm on the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't have tiers. I've been trying to pick up tiers. I do want to see the combination of tiers and Splite because then I would have both decks.
Yep.
But as far as coming up, I won't have enough time for that to run it through. I haven't actually played the tiers. I've just played against them. And I love the Runic cards. I would just play Runic if I could. I think they need that Splite engine because the Majesty's Fiend is just kind of a brick. It's not as good going second. And I don't think you could run it. Like, you can run the mine, but you need too many things. You don't know if they're on Cyclone, which a lot are on now. You lose the Smashers. I would just want to play Runic, but I think Splite's the best version, and then having that extra gas and Splite is nice, and I'm trying to dick my opponent out.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to be on. I'm actually going to take some time and show you my main deck, show you the tweaks that I'm going to make for it, and then build the side deck on this podcast, give you some thoughts on why I'm building this side deck, and then the next time we reconvene, I'll let you guys know how it goes. So without further ado, we're going to get right into building this deck.
Right.
All right, guys. So we're going to get in real quick to tweaking out the main deck of the Sprite Runic version. We're going to go over the extra. I'm going to tell you the changes that I'm going to make before the event. I don't actually own the cards right now. I'll get them somehow. And then we're going to go over building my side deck. So obviously for the Sprite package, 3 Sprite Blue, 3 Jet, 1 Carrot, 1 Red, 1 Pixies. I was on 2 Red for the longest time, but then I played a lot of games where I just couldn't beat over stuff. Pixies comes in handy. Yes, it's searchable. Yes, sometimes they see it coming. When they see it coming, though, sometimes that's the move. 3 starter, no one.
We're going through it a little quickly. I think Sprite's been in the meta long enough where you should know what these do.
Some people are playing 2 Smashers. I think that's fine, too, if you want to do that. I am just also playing the Runic cards. This is searchable when you need it. I might side a second one, though. We will see while we get to the building.
Yeah.
Toad package, shocker.
We're not on Dupe Frog. A lot of builds have been off Dupe Frog. I've been off Dupe. I never ran Dupe Frog. I always thought, I read it, and I was like, if I get Dark Rollered, I still lose the Dupe Frog. And then I'm a super poly target. So I was never on it, and that's why I started with Pixies, and I was never on Dupe Frog.
And then you guys remember when we told you about the card we hated? Super Poly. Guess what? Plays into Super Poly. Hand Traps. 3 Veiler. 3 Ash. 3 Imperm. Dose DD Crow. I'm only running 2 DD Crow because I only own 2 DD Crow. This should be at a 3rd. So this is the hand trap lineup that I'm playing. Some people are running ogres with all of this. I don't necessarily think that's correct. Me and Devin talked about it. It just doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, my thought process on ogre was that, like, okay, let's think of rogue, whatever kind of deck. All right, you can hit Faithful Adventure. That's cool. You can hit Gigantic. All right, great. But they're usually going to have a red up, and Imperm dodges that. Ash still hits it, and it's more generic. Veiler hits it, and it's more generic. So all those instances, it's better, whereas Ogre can, in tier hit the field spell? Yep. It can hit the trap, okay, but I don't think those reasons, because, I mean, honestly, other than those, I couldn't think of too many scenarios where I need an Ogre.
So this is the hand trap lineup. If I had a 3rd DD Crow, I'd probably swap out a Veiler and a DD Crow.
That's what I'm going to do as well.
Those are the things. That's the hand traps. Now for the Runic package. I'm running a rather big Runic package currently. We might look at it in just a moment here. I'm running 3 Tips, 3 Flashing Flyers, 3 Freezing Curses, 3 Destructions, and 2 Field Spells. Why am I running this many Runics as compared to, I believe, what Devin is going to be running? Yep. I believe that whenever you see a Runic card, you don't want to just see 1, usually. You want to see 2. So when I see 2, I want to see these 2. Or any 2, honestly. It can be Tip.
You want Tip.
Any of them. Yeah, Tip, ideally
Tip
any of them.
Tip is the ideal. So Destruction, if you think about it, okay, you've got Field Spell for tier, and then you have usually 1 trap, and it's, the negate. I haven't seen the Book of Moon in so long, to be honest. They just don't search it. Like, it's fine, or it gets milled, and then they search the negate. Which, that's cool, but I don't need 3 of, especially when it's searchable with Tip. If you look at Sprite, okay, they have Smashers, but it's protected by Double Toad.
Yep.
And you're going into it blind. It could be an Econ. It could be you don't know. So this is just kind of dead because you don't know what you're going to hit if they did set multiple. Now, if it's 1 Smashers, that's great, but I still got to get past 2 Toads, so that's not ideal. Generic back row decks, this deck inherently just kind of beats. Like, slow decks, the deck can beat. It's tier 1. I don't like 2 Fountain. In my final round yesterday in the 3v3, I opened Fountain. And, I mean, it's the only one you do not want to open.
See, and I'm different. I don't want to open this if it's a 1 of. But if I open this on another Runic card, I feel fine.
Yes, but I would... Because the fact that we have Huggins to search, when I want the field spell, I can get the field spell. Yep. And then I get the draws.
I also just want to have an extra one if they Cosmic Cyclone.
So when they Cyclone, I just use these for what they're worth. Mm-hmm. And if anything, it's still a 2 extender, and at that point I'm just playing like an E-Telly, and it's just gas. Because this engine is not that great against meta going second. Like, against the Sprite board, like, these just don't do enough.
Yep.
Even against tier boards, they're really not that great. So, I don't want that big of a package. So, and then I did the math on like 12 of them. It's like you get 80% chance to like open 2. And I don't want this to be one of them because like I get a 1-for-1, but I just want to search it and do the discard. And it's this engine's amazing going first, and I completely sided out going second because they're putting in anti-spell, they're putting in all the cyclones, and you just hit them with the meta call of, oh, I sided my whole like runic package out other than like tip and a flashing or tip and a freezing, you know?
Yep. So real quick, I'm going to go over the main deck list count, and then I'm going to make the changes as I see fit real quick with all the information. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
It should be 12.
29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42.
Oh, yeah, 14.
So currently 42 cards. So the changes that I think I'm going to make to get a 40.
If you cut down Destruction and Fountain, you're at 12, and then, like I said, it puts it at 80%. You know what I mean? To get the 2.
And I
then,
think we're seeing the ones that we want to see more of, right? We want to see... Flashing Fire is obviously kind of a mid card, if we're being honest. It's not very good into tiers.
But what I do love about that card, though, is if your board gets Dark Rollered or something like that, and they go Sky Cav, this is the perfect out.
Yep.
Like, and I save my Smashers for anything else, which I love a lot. That comes up so many times because Freezing Chain's not going to get you there on like a double Zeus.
Yeah, and Freezing Curse I think is the best
Freezing
one.
Curse. Yeah.
And then obviously if we're doing Destruction,
just for
you need a mine out. You have to run a main deck mine out.
That's if they're not on the Runic, it's a main deck mine out. So that puts us on 3 outs.
And it's just a summon.
It's just another name for the summon, and it's just an activation.
Yep.
I did come into a lot of times. I think I was on 2, but I still came in things where they had Smashers with the full Toad board, and I'm just sitting on Destruction. I clear their board, and then they never set another card. Like, what is they setting other than Imperm? You know, like.
Yep.
So now it was dead in hand because I already burned through the 2s. You know.
Yep.
So it's honestly the worst one.
So what a lot of people don't think about when they're playing Runics, all of these cards actually also say save your field from Lightning Storm, Rogeki, anything like that. Every single one of them.
If you don't have Elf up.
That's
the only thing that kind of sucks.
So you summon the Hugin out, and then...
It's a Banelings. It is a non-effect. It doesn't activate. It just does it, which is really good.
This is the one I'm going to play. If I lose all my Runic Fountains, I will blame you.
That's fine. Like, I got Cosmic Cyclone on Fountain, and like when I top deck, it's just a 2 extender. Yep. You know, or I just play it differently. Like, I get the banishes, I just use it differently. I'm not banking on the Fountain. The Fountain's for go first.
Yeah.
Go first. If I get the extra gas, go second, great. But if not, it's either just a bait where they have to clear it because I'm gonna gain the advantage, or I lose it and they still got to deal with the Runic cards, and I still get the extenders. I didn't lose much, you know.
Yeah.
And they put a Cosmic Cyclone. Oh, they didn't hit Imperm. They didn't hit Smashers. They didn't hit a pointer. Or, you know, well, that wouldn't matter, but you know what I mean. So yeah. I'm okay with them wasting a Cosmic on that card, to be honest.
So going over the extra links that are not Elf, Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Unicorn, Dark. This should be another Elf, or this should be the, what is it, Underworld Goddess?
Yes.
This should be one of those. I don't have one of them. I'm going to be trying to get another Elf to replace this. So just so everyone knows, this card is going to be Elf. So these two, this is really good just inherently. Mm-hmm. Unicorn is really good into tiers, I think. I really do.
Yeah.
Losing 3 links, we never actually lose the cards that we link with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Unicorn's just really good into getting that card out of the way. We have other ways to do that, but I think these are just the 2 most optimal. This could be the Water Tremor. I'm going to stick to Dark. There's just other cards out there that I'm more worried about. I'm not necessarily always trying to take your Toad.
Well, yeah, and I love it in the mirror because there's so many times where I'm like, cool, let me take that blue. Let me take that jet. Let me take, get those effects.
Whereas the Water Charmer is good into tiers and then taking Toads. So these are the generic links I'm running. Onibamaru, I didn't think this card was good at first. This card is nutty. 1 Toad, obviously.
And the second effect, when they banish a Ronin, people don't realize. Like, you destroy, cool, let me get that back.
The Zeus package. With Runics, you might be wondering, why am I running Sky Calv Downard? You're not always using your Runics.
So many times I've opened 1 Runic card, and I don't need to go that line because I opened Sprite names, and I have my battle phase. I killed them on turn 2, and they never saw. I did 2 duels, and they didn't see a single Runic card.
Yep.
Which is fine because I have splites.
And when you open up just 1 Runic, you do have a hard choice. And those Runic lines give you options. Number 1, if you do not have a level 2 summon, congratulations, you now have a level 2 summon. If you need a monster saver, you now have a card saver. Or if you just want to hold it in hand, hope to see another runic card.
Because the Huggins will protect you, same way Almirage, from Ogre.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
So now we're going to get in sprites. This, again, is going to be... We'll clean this up just a little bit. So Sprite Elf, and this is Sprite Elf. I know it doesn't look like it, but it does. Gigantic. Hugin. Now this is the questionable one. Jerry, the Runic Fang. I like this card. This card saves you a lot of times. It's also how you recur your field spell should it get popped. Here's my thing. This card could be the Underworld Goddess. I don't know how good it is. This is probably what I'll run this weekend. So
my thing on that, I was on Jerry for a little bit, due to your suggestions, stuff like that, and I took it out. The battle thing never came up. Like I said, skipping battle phases, and like it's usually elf in that spot, things like that. So that never came up, and then every time against me, they put in Cyclone because they know Huggins effect. So this is dead for the recursion.
Yep.
And I would rather, I think a better argument for this would be the other one, which luckily we have right here, would be Munin, because of the life point game. So if you're not on Red Resonator, this prevents targeting, which stops the Cosmic Cyclone.
Yep.
Which is awesome. And Twin Twister targets, there's a lot of things that actually target. Pankratops targets. And then you get the 1,000 gain, and it's a mandatory effect. So if you're not on Red Resonator and you're getting close to time, this is just an inherent out.
So I think actually...
Without siding.
With that logic going in mind, I think this might be taken. Jerry might come out for this. This is weekend. I don't have a Red Resonator. I need something.
So you do need because the deck loses the starter. Now you'll still lose the starter if you summon 1100 blue usually.
Yep.
But at least if you do it fast enough, you summon this, and then on their turn, you get the in phase effect. Hopefully. Yeah. But it's better than just auto losing to your own starter.
Yep. So let's go over building a side real quick. I already have some cards that are obviously going to come in. The obvious cards, evenly matched. I only own 2. I'm going to get the third this weekend. There's going to be a third evenly right here. There's going to be a third evenly matched, so don't worry about that. Cards I think that are good. Triple Nibiru. People say this card is good into tiers. I haven't had that experience yet. I think this card is good into anything that's not Sprite or tiers.
I opened it, so I didn't play tiers yesterday, thankfully, because I don't like that matchup. But I did face it against Sprite. I opened it, obviously dead. Opened against Despia. They never, summoned that much, because if not, I was losing. So it didn't come up for me yet, but I have, in testing, used it against tiers, and it does break their board. Because when you look at their final board, you've got the 3K. Which one is that? Kaleido?
Yep.
Yeah, so they go Kaleido. And then you've got, say, the Winda. You've got a Time Thief Redoer, depending on their lines. You've got the... then they go into Spell Canceller, which is a huge problem. And then usually they'll, kind of stop there or whatnot, or have the Predaplant. Mm-hmm. You nib them, and it only puts them on having Kaleido.
Yep.
And then at that point, you can Onimaru, the token, because it's going to be huge. You get rid of that. They burned every single name, so all they get is the Kaleido back, and they don't get any shuffles because you have nothing on board. And then all you have to worry about is one Kaleido and a back row.
Yep.
Which is cool because, okay, Destruction the back row, or Smashers, get rid of the back row, it's fine. And then you just have to answer Kaleido. And I'd rather answer Kaleido than Predaplant, Spell Canceller,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And then Math Mech. If they can't get the diameter route, this just crushes them. And because they're like, our deck's free. No one's on Nib. Yeah. And I think that's a great answer. Even Exosister can run into that very hard. Mm-hmm. So for those reasons, that's why it's not in the main.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not running the pointers. I don't own them. I'm playing 3 Solemn Judgment. I think this card is really good. Going first, obviously you don't run this card going second. But this card is really good going first. It's like we talked about with Dark Ruler No More. This is your Dark Ruler No More out.
Yep.
This is outs to everything other than fucking Super Poly.
But I do think a pointer's better, because a lot of times this can be pay 4K to lose, because they can Dark Ruler you, you negate it, and then you get hit with,
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Poly.
A pointer's better.
Yeah.
Because
I think
you get to
better.
see everything you're playing around.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
get to see what you need to negate.
I've beaten a hand where it was E-Telly, evenly matched, Foxy Tune, Gizmek, Orochi, and something else, because I knew everything I needed to stop.
Yep. So, other cards I'm running, Cosmic Cyclone. This is my side-in for the mirror match. This is also my side-in for Mystic Mind decks. Congratulations. Now I have more outs to your decks. This is also good into random Eldritch players. This is just an overall good card in general. Mm-hmm. This is also, like, you paying 1,000 life points. If you notice, I am playing a lot of cards that lose in time. Mm-hmm. But I don't always need... Like, I'm not... With this deck, you don't usually need time. Unless your opponent's going crazy. Mm-hmm. So, this equals out to 12 cards. My other 3 cards. I'm going to be running 2 Shadow Imprison Mirror. Yeah. I think that card is really good into tiers. And then I'm going to run 1 extra Splight Smashers.
I would run the Smashes over the third Cyclone.
Well, no. The 2 Shadow Imprison plus that equals that.
Okay.
So that gives me a good range of going second cards.
You want usually 3 to 6 go first.
Yep.
Like, you usually want to stay about 5.
And then that gives me 5 going first cards, especially when I'm already playing a really good going first deck. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be my side for the weekend. I know it wasn't much building, but that's just our theory into our whole sideboard, or my whole sideboard. Devin's going to open up his real quick, and then we're going to close out the video on that. All right, so Devin's going to talk about his side a little bit. I'm going to critique it just like he critiqued mine.
Yeah.
And rip the shit out of it. So.
Some of this is still in theory.
Again, just things to keep in mind. We are playing practically the same main board. Mm-hmm. I think the big difference is you're running a slightly smaller runic package.
I'm running what you changed.
And then you're running 3 Crow, 2 Veiler.
I'm running 3 Crow, 2 Veiler, and I'm main decking Nib.
Okay.
Because
so you're running 43 cards?
After the changes, currently it's 45, but I haven't made a couple changes I want to make. By the end of it, I believe it'll be 41, maybe 42, around that range. Just a little higher to offset the fountain. And still get consistency in my draws and things like that. I am main decking Nib. It sucks against Splight, but I don't want to auto lose turn 1 to Spellcancel. And that's, my theory on that. I don't want to just auto lose because it puts me on Imperm Nib and not just Imperm.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into this side deck real quick.
So 1 Pankratops. This can out the entire... If they don't search Smashers because they're afraid of Dark Ruler, and they search Starter because it plays better into the Dark Ruler play, this completely outs their board. So I think that's just inherently good, and there's a reason, why it's at 1.
Yeah.
Next, 3D Shifter.
Ooh, that's spicy.
So this is the testing. Hasn't came up. My thing is like, tier ends their turn. Like, I know I'm not guaranteed to open it. It's going to suck if it's a 6 card, 7th card, things like that. But what's cool is, so the Runic package, if I can end up, banishing my swap, summoning my Ronin, overlaying for Toad, have an empty graveyard other than Runics, shuffle them all back, and then de-shifter them. Because we have that ability to get rid of our grave.
Yep.
So that's the thought process on that, if I don't open it. Because if I empty my grave for 3 and then draw this off of that, now it's live.
Yeah.
It hasn't came up yet, and I haven't got to use it. Like I said, I didn't face tier yesterday. But it's an auto win. We saw it in the finals. I think...
Yeah.
Not that we can play it super well, but we can still make a Toad elf board, lose a couple resources, and then do this, and then...
It's one of those, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. 3 Dark Ruler. I was maining it for a while. I'm not on main decking it anymore. It kind of sucks. I mean, to see it go first, I didn't want an extra dead card. It's mainly great against Splight. And I think for that reason, like, it is hard, but now that I'm on more of a hand trap lineup, we can stop Sprite. Like, you stop the Gigantic, I mean, your turn, like, even if you can stop a Ronin, they're not making much. A red, maybe a carrot, like, it's push throughable.
Yep.
Now, if they get the full combo, I mean, that means I had no hand traps. And then I have all gas. So now I've got enough, hopefully, enough gas to push through. So that's why it's in the side now. And I hated seeing it, especially go first. Yeah. And sometimes I'd open 2, and yeah. 3 evenly. I'm always on evenly. I've seen people not use it. I've been on evenly pretty much since it came out. I think it's just so powerful. Tier doesn't end on an Omni Negate. Combine it with Dark Ruler, and you beat any deck in the format. Mathmex, like we were saying, they end on Trap, Appaloosa. Trap, Heatleo, something like that. And they're just going to try to snipe this in hand. If they don't hit it, alright, I'm great. If they do hit it, okay, cool. I kept everything else in hand, and now, yes, I don't have a battle, but I have to deal with an Xyz and an Appaloosa, and that's manageable. The 1 Harpy's Feather Duster.
Yep.
I'm currently on the 2 Smashers. This will probably be the second Smashers, depending on how I change this. Because I'm currently main decking 2 Smashers. I don't think it's needed. Other than the Runic Mind deck, which I'm kind of afraid of just because they have the inherent out of destruction.
Yeah. And
you have to save your Smashers and know it's a Runic Mind deck. But if you save it properly and build up your board and then get rid of it, you're fine. The Evenlies cover, like the Eldritch, things like that, the back row decks, especially more so than Harpy's Feather Duster. And it's probably going to be Smashers. I didn't like main decking too because it was just a brick. It's nice not searching it sometimes, and then sometimes you can't play because it's Smasher. So yeah, and then the one Resonator.
Yeah, obvious going into time.
It saved me so many times going into time. I definitely think it's needed. You special it off Gigantic or Elf, and you just gain life so that you don't auto win. It's definitely smart. It's a level 2. It's an extender, and it has a normal summon effect where you get to special 1 from hand, which is awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that until recently. So it's never dead. It's a 2, and it helps in time, which I think you always need something for time. You know, people have been on Cowboy since the early days. You know, like
and with time rules being a lot different now, you definitely need it.
Yeah, with the phases, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah,
and then 3 a pointer.
Yep,
because I have them, and I think it's better.
There's a pretty.
Yeah, well, one's a common. Don't look at it. I think a pointer is better than Judgment. I saw YCS Niagra. One person was on Judgment, the Runic Spray player. He was on Judgment over a pointer. And getting the hand knowledge and knowing what they can do, because there's sometimes where I had my opponent open 2 Dark Ruler, which I would have Judgmented, you know?
Yep.
And it's once per turn, so, you know, I would have been solid. But they had Starter Jet was their hand. So, if I would have Judgmented that, they would have started Jet full combo, you know, it would have been a bad spot. Instead, I pointered, I took the starter. What are you going to do with normal summon Jet?
Yeah.
You going to Dark Ruler me and then do what? See, that was a better line that you don't get out of a Judgment, you know?
No, I agree. I just don't own a pointer.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, but that's my thought process because... And it costs 2k instead of 4k, because if you starter and Judgment, I mean, you're down to almost 2,000 life. Like, that's nothing, and you're sitting on a 1,400 attack position elf.
Yep.
I think you can die very easily like that, and getting the hand knowledge, like I said, it was E-Telly, Foxy Tune, Gizmek, Orochi, evenly matched, and something else, and like I ripped the evenly, I ashed the E-Telly, or no, sorry, I ripped the Foxy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't evenly, I ripped the Foxy. He didn't have a play with just the Deer Note or whatever in hand. He ended up setting the Gizmek tribute summoning so that he got Gizmek live. I ginned the Gizmek in graveyard, ran over, and, just killed him because...
Jesus.
I think it's just better. I knew what to stop, how to stop. I didn't have to worry about the Foxy. That was his only line of play. So I think it's better, especially the life points less. They get to see my hand. Who cares? You get to see where I'm going to hand.
No, I agree. If I had 3 of this, it'd be Judgment.
Yeah, that's why I do it over Judgment, and I've never, knock on wood, never lost a game where this is resolved.
Yeah.
Anytime this has ever been flipped, I won.
It's just that good.
It's that good. I've never lost. If I see it in my opening hand going first, I win that game. Yeah. And that's my side. The only spicy things I'd say is the D shifters. That's in testing. The rest of it, other than the Harpies change for Smashers, I've had no issues. Dark Ruler, hopefully I see it evenly. Pointers, my go first. I have 3 go first. And also another thing I did was, so I only have 3 first. And that puts me on red, say a second Smashers, 3 evenly, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 D Shifter, and then the Pank. So that's 12 cards. So my Renegade is 12 cards.
Yeah.
So I side them all out.
Yeah.
And throw it in. Now I have 12 go seconds on top of my hand traps.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is us talking about our sideboards. That is us talking about the YCS Niagra. That's us talking about the meta. That's us talking about the ban list. That's us talking about a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
I am POP.1 Danny. It's POP.1 Devin. Got POP.1 Plowed back there, the owner of the team. We also have a POP.1 podcast that happens every Thursday.
Yep.
7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I believe. Central?
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. What?
Central Time.
Yeah, Central Time. We do a lot of really cool things on there. Preston usually always has a guest on. It's usually Devin, Butters, and then some mysterious person. Mostly Tyler. They do a lot of things. They talk about Pokemon. They talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! They talk about nerd news in general. They do this really cool thing called Flip Deck. We have one of those coming up It's in the POP.1 Discord link. The link will be down in the description below, so make sure you click on that and join the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Discord group in the Gulf Coast. Have a wonderful night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having a beer and talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! With us.
Peace.